Hello, Brittany. I hope you're doing well. We're going to get started on your 2D and 3D analysis. And so we look for a couple of things, what we call hitting inhibitors that can impact your power, contact, and efficiency. We'll be looking at 12 different things on your swing here. We're going to start off with looking for a sway. And so when you make a negative move away from the picture, we just want to make sure you don't go too far, particularly that right knee. And you can see, we're near close, so no evidence of a sway. Next thing we look for is loss of posture. So we take you from your negative move, which is your move away from the picture, all the way to heel plant, which would be about right there for you. All right, so that little motion there. So when we go here to the negative move, what I'm going to do is draw a line from your eye to the waist. All right, middle of your waist. And what we want to see is a forward lean of that line. And you can see back here, here it's going back. And so that was what we would consider to be a loss of posture. And so we want you attacking the ball. So we actually want that a forward lean. This can impact your power, weight transfer, and also just your sequencing, okay? So we would say you have a loss of posture. What we want to see is on kind of going forward, and then once you come into contact, going back. Now, I am exaggerating those lines a little bit, but I just want to give you an idea what I'm looking for. But as you can see, you could probably argue that maybe you're straight down on this one. But and then if we have it go a little forward, so heel plant, and then if I draw eye to the waist, you can see you're definitely going back to heel plant, which in heel plant, we do want you in that position. Let me take you back a little bit. So if we were to say this is toe touch, let me go through here, eye, and you're still going a little bit back there. All right, so your upper body is leaning away from the pitcher, and we actually wanted it going towards the pitcher on those first few phases. Next thing we look for is dead hands. And so dead hands is a separation of your hands, or really kind of getting your hands away from your body. You actually have maybe a little bit there. So if we kind of get you into this position, and if I draw a line between the mid hands to about your nose, you can see that there. And then once we get you to toe touch, it's a little tricky because you don't take a step, but we'll say toe touch is here. You do have a little bit of separation kind of from the mid hands to the nose. All right. And so that stretch gives you a little bit of elasticity, and that elasticity creates energy, which is transferred into power. Maybe like to see a little wider range, even though you do have some movement. It's small, and if we can get that movement more. On the movement screen, you did have trouble on that separation test, and so it's not unexpected that you only have a small range of motion there. And so that would be something with the shoulder corrective exercises that we hope to see some improvement in. Next thing we look for is loss of base. So basically we take it to the toe touch position, which I'm going to call right here. And I'm just looking at this knee, which way is it facing, making sure your back heel is down. So back heel is down and knee is facing towards the toe. So that's looking pretty good there. Let me make a correction there. So loss of base. I'm going to say no to the dead hands. All right, and then the next thing we look for is a negative move to contact. So again, negative move away from the pitcher and to contact. We're looking to see what your heel does, all right? And so what I'm going to do, let's trace these lines here. I'm going to draw a line straight up, kind of your back foot here. And what we don't want to see is we don't want to see any part of your foot cross that line. If we do, that means you're not appropriately shifting weight. And so you can see there that there's still some weight on your back foot. Typically in this position, we would like for you to be further up on your toes. You actually are on your toes, but a little bit kind of going forward in your weight going forward. But what this is suggesting is that your weight might be shifting back ever so slightly. And so we refer to this as hanging back. Next thing we look for, just kind of take a look at your right elbow and your right hip. Looking for what we refer to as a gate swing. So the key is we just don't want that elbow to get stuck on the hip. And you can see your elbow is passing the hip there just fine. So no evidence of a gate swing. We also look for flying elbow. I would say as if your elbows are outside the hands there, which is not. We also look for pushing. So when you get here, we want good alignment of your hands with the elbow. So no signs of a push. That means you're whipping your hands through as well as whipping the bat through. We'll take it back to the toe touch position. We want to make sure those hands are behind the bat or further away from the pitcher. And then the other thing we look for is drifting. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to draw a line just going up your left hip. And then we want to make sure you rotate around that line and not going past it at all. So no evidence of drifting, maybe coming a little bit off the line, but nothing bad. But the key thing is that some of your weight is still on that back foot there. So the main things we saw, loss of posture, hanging back, mentioned a little bit of the hand movement. You were able to extend it some. I think you would get a little bit more elasticity which means energy production if you were to get a little bit more movement there. So let's move to the rear view. All right, so here, I'm going to do my best on this one. The camera angle is actually not the best on this one. And so actually, I'm not able to do the analysis. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can pull up a second video. I did. All right, so we're going to have to repeat your video. I'm not able to do the, I got a bad angle here. And so I'm a little bit too far over the ball. I should be a little bit more behind you. So I can't tell you if how your hips are rotating or casting your hands on this one. I do apologize. And so here, what we're looking at is what we refer to as X factor. So here in this left lower, this is your 3D component here. And what we were able to determine is that you have about 26-degree X factor, which is the separation of your upper body from your lower body. Ideally, we want you in the 25 to 35 range. So you're right there at 26. Now, this top left one, it's a little bit trickier to see. But what we're looking at in the orange is your hips. The green is your thorax or shoulder. Up here is referred to as your trunk. And then the red, your arm. And so here what we're looking for is sequencing. And so we'll likely need to repeat this one on you. So what we want to see is the orange actually peak first. But as you can see, the orange in this little phase here doesn't peak actually to the very end. And so what that means is we want you leading with your hips, and it doesn't show that you're leading with your hips. It actually shows that you're leading with your trunk, then followed by your arm, and then your waist. All right. Now, I'm not going to say this is 100% correct because, again, we had some issues with the camera angle on you. But just kind of knowing about your history of the two lumbar disc herniation, some of the tightness in your shoulders may not be too far off, in that when you swing, you may be swinging as a unit rather than separating. Even though you separate on the backswing or in the windup, once it comes together, you're swinging as one piece and not getting that full separation. So let's see if we can see here and just kind of look at your hips. So when you go back, there's a little bit of right there, and which is fine. So your shoulders are turning back, kind of looking at it from this position. Might be more of a rotation of the shoulders than anything. But as we go through, the hips go forward, and then you can see your body's somewhat swinging as a unit rather than uncoiling. And we want those hips to fire first. But what's happening, your hips are moving, but so is your trunk and upper body at the same time. So let's repeat your 3D analysis. We'll make sure we get you in the swing and make sure we're getting accurate calculations. And again, with your back injury, that could be playing a role in how your lower body moves compared to your upper body. And then just as a reminder, since you do have those disc injuries, I strongly discourage you doing any barbell squats or deadlifts until you're doing better. All right. All right. We'll be talking soon. Thanks.